Then good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Devika Besoria, Chairperson of Women Engineers Forum of IESL for the current session. And on behalf of the Women Engineers Forum of IESL, I warmly welcome you all to the webinar on the societal role of professional engineers. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. Before introducing the guest speaker, I would like to share some information with you. The speaker will deliver his presentation for an hour, and it will be followed by a question and answer session. And also, I would like to request you to type the questions in the chat. It will be convenient for all of us. Then I request you all to keep your devices muted during the presentation. Thank you very much. And without taking much time, let me introduce today's guest speaker. He is Engineer Janaka Senviratne, one of our fellow engineers, and also he is a fellow member of the IESL. He graduated from the University of Morocco in 1987. Then he served the CCB, NBRO, and CNC in various capacities from 1987 to 1997. And Engineer Senviratne pursued his postgraduate studies in engineering management and local government engineering in Australia. Afterwards, he joined the New South Wales state government of Australia. In 2001, he started his career with New South Wales local government sector by joining the former Bankstown City Council. During last 2 decades, he has specialized in leadership, project and contract management, building compliance management, asset management and risk management disciplines. Currently, he leads a group of design, technical and facilities management professionals as the coordinator of building planning in the largest New South Wales City Council. It's Canterbury Bankstown City Council, which was formed in 2016 by merging 2 city councils. And also, Engineer Senviratne was awarded IESL Merit Award for Excellence in Engineering Journalism in 2018. Now I cordially invite Engineer Senviratne to address all of us. Thank you. Engineer Senviratne.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Engineer Mrs. Abesuria, for kind introduction. And welcome all of you for this webinar on societal role of engineers. So you might have heard this topic before, and also maybe you have attended some of these seminars or the presentations before. But my presentation is not about any theories or anything, but it is about sharing my knowledge and my experience performing the societal role. So let me share my screen, and then I can start talking about this particular subject. I think you all can see my screen. First of all, I want to introduce myself, not any length, but what I want to say is I'm a professional engineer. And also from this slide, you can see what are the areas I am practicing. So only 2 things I want to highlight. One is a behavioral engineer, other one is a writer. I'm not going to explain who a behavioral engineer is. However, at the end of this presentation, you might understand who that person is, because I'm going to share the roles I play. So when you, at the end of the presentation, you will realize what kind of behaviors is called a behavioral engineer. So this is a very busy slide. if you look at this, if you can fit into any one or few of these information, that means I assumed who you are. So I think all of you represent one or few of these. So then what is my challenge? My challenge is to ensure at least some of the contents going to give in this presentation are relevant to each of you in the audience, because I don't know the audience, I assume the audience, and I believe that my challenge would be to give you something at the end of the presentation. And also there's another important one, that's to encourage you to start thinking differently at the end of this presentation. If I can achieve both objectives or at least one objective, then I'll be more than happy. So first we begin this, because this is a race with time, because there are a lot of information I would like to share, but I had to cut down it a lot to control the timing. So what are the characteristics of engineering? So it is a creative activity. If you have seen Engineers Australia, the magazine equivalent to the engineer magazine in IESL, the name of that magazine is Create. Exactly, that's what's all about engineering. It is a creative activity. Then you have engineering designs, then you have inventions, innovations, all are based on scientific and mathematical principles, however, refined by actual performance data. That means it is not pure science, but there's a basis. And also, when we refine it with actual performance data, that means it becomes approximate science. That is become empirical. That means you develop empirical equations, because the things you design, invent, or innovate should work, should perform the role you intended at the design. So that brings us to discuss who are the scientists and who are the engineers. Is there any? Are they different? Are scientists different? Let's have a look. What scientists do? They collect and analyze data. Also, then they use data analysis to gain knowledge and revise the current level of understanding of scientific phenomena. That means they are not inventing anything. What they do, they try to explain what is there, what is existing. So that's their role. They use data to analyze and gain knowledge, and then understanding, get the understanding of what is happening there. Then what engineers do, they also collect data and analyze data. So then what they do, they use data analysis to design a product for a particular function or performance. They are creative problem solvers. Also, they are initiators of new ideas, and also they are implementers of new ideas. So when you do that, always you deal with constraints. What are the constraints engineers face? There are physical laws. I mean here by physical law is like the gravity or the friction or some kind of a scientific law we have to deal with. So there's a physical laws, Newton's law, Coulomb's law. You can have many physical laws work against the engineers, because we have to deal with that situation. Then you have commercial consideration. That means you have to think about your product or service, how it is commercially viable. So you have to consider that. Not only that, then your client will ask, your employer will ask certain things to fulfill. You have to fulfill those needs. Then there's a society. You have to think about the society, because whatever you do, whatever you are going to give will be used by the public at the end. That means that's the society. So you have to deal with their requests, their needs. Then the law, that's the law of the land. That means there are certain legal aspects of certain activities. Some are not allowed. So you have to deal within, work within that law. Then the last is the ethics. However, I have a question for you. Are these really constraints? Let's see later. Okay, the engineers have responsibilities, and it comes with opportunities as well. So let's look at the responsibilities. Engineers as professionals have the responsibility to explore problems and propose engineering solutions by operating within the constraints I mentioned in the previous slide. Then you have to operate within the specific domain and the level of confidence. That means if you are trained in certain area, certain discipline or sub-discipline, you have to operate within that domain. I have seen previously some engineers actually perform outside their domain, and I have seen it even the chartered engineers. So that's one of the responsibilities. You should not do that. Then you have to uphold the public trust. Then you have to serve public. Also adhere to a code of ethics. That's the responsibilities. So what are the opportunities? Engineers are very fortunate in that area. What the opportunity? To make a positive influence on society. That means whatever you do will make a positive influence on society. Then you have the chance. Be innovative and creative. So these are the responsibilities and opportunities come. Then have a look. If you are a private sector engineer, you are working within a certain industry. Maybe it's a textile industry, maybe another industry. So you are working within the industry. Your direct link is with the industry. However, your industry is linked with the society. So ultimately what happens? You are working for the society. However, the link is through the industry. So you have to think about the society. Then if you think about public sector engineers, it is very easy to understand because you are the link between the society and the service sector. So when you have such a direct link, you feel how the society reacts to your performance. Now, I'm not going to go much detail about this one, but I want to just remind you how the word professional came. It started in the Middle English word as profess. The basic concept here is original Latin word professus is to profess or to confess. That means you are telling people something, and also professionals are bound by professional vows. Okay, the original meaning is if you are a professional, you have a commitment, you have a vows, you sworn a vows and say that I am going to do this way, I'm going to perform this way. So engineering is a profession, and also engineers are professionals. But remember, not all employments are professions. There are a lot of employments. You have been given an instruction by someone, you know the method, you just follow that method and do the job and go home. Then there's another person, the same work will be done a bit different, the way the supervisor asks you to do, and then do the job and go. And not thinking too much, you are not going to change what you do. And that's that kind of employment, a lot of employment. Also, the word professional is misused as well in the society. But real professionals, as I said here, had some kind of a professional vows. So how do you differentiate general employment from a profession? A profession is an occupational practice regulated by a code of conduct or ethics. It's a must. Then the behaviors of professional are bound by that. And also, that's a very important one. When professionals do such a practice, they must adjust own values align those of the values of the profession. That means any individual have own values. I may like money, I may like education, or some kind of values I am how I brought up in the society. Then in the profession, there are some certain values like integrity, and those values, you have to align your values with the profession. Otherwise, you are a misfit. If you are a misfit, whatever you do will damage the profession. So that's why to become a profession, that means you have to adjust your values, align with the profession. Then there's another important one. You are no longer independent individuals. You are a member of a professional family. That means whatever you do will impact to the whole professional family. When one member suffers, the whole family suffers. That means you have a responsibility to perform certain way, not to negatively impact your profession. So that's the price you are paying for becoming an individual, a professional. So what is the professional status of engineers in society? Not as high as medical doctors. Okay. This is not only in Sri Lanka. This is a fact all over the world. Why? You may have your own interpretation. However, I want to clearly say it is not because medical doctors are dealing with lives. It is not the reason. The reason is engineers are poor communicators. Because by design or the way we are trained in universities or any other study programs, we are trained to analyze things and do calculations and provide the designs and provide everything, but we are not trained in communication. You have to actually practice this and learn after the fact you became an engineer. So how do I prove what I say? Look at the facts. Look at what methods, instruments, equipment, anything used by professionals, including medical doctors. Is a significant portion of the success is due to engineering solutions. So do engineers bother to highlight these contributions to society? I don't think so. So look at the mass media. How many medical doctors express their views? You can see in forums, a lot of medical doctors actually talk about, not about their profession, and also some socio-economic issues, and also their own profession as well in comparison with engineers. So how many architects explain their theories behind their designs? So to the society, inform how important their profession is. So that's why day by day, people will go to an architect and ask for a design rather than going to a just CAD operator, because they know the importance. But engineers are not doing that. So where are engineers in everyday media conversations? So what are the other things to justify? Think about the potential impact, social impact of engineering mistakes. There can be a building failure, bridge collapse, dam breach, aircraft software fault, or nuclear plant explosion. So those things compare with something with medical profession, prescribing a wrong medicine, okay, wrong medical diagnosis, surgical procedure mistake. How many people would impact? Compare this. A building failure, maybe hundreds. Bridge, how many properties, how many cars, how many people? Dam breach, a village can be wiped out. Aircraft, 200, 300 people. Nuclear, you can't actually measure the number because it's a long term. So think about the number prescribing wrong medicine, maybe 10 people, or maybe a wrong medical diagnosis is small numbers. Procedural mistake, that's also a small number, but how much impact or how much damage you would do if you do a wrong thing? But does society know about this? So I have a very good information. What was the greatest advance in medicine during last 150 years? Think about that and keep in your mind your answer. So BBC UK did a survey in 2006. It's some time ago. Was it antibiotics? Maybe someone thinks that it is antibiotics they found last 150 years. No. It was establishment of sanitation levels, clean water and clean environment to prevent spreading of diseases, and how the sanitation measures are taken. So who did it? Was it done by your doctors? No. Doctors identified the problem. Engineers created the solutions, clean water, water supply schemes, and purification of water, everything. Who done it? Engineers. That's how the engineer. So who have failed to convince the public of their professional importance? That's engineers. So my first request is the role one, be a good communicator. I'm just not telling you just to be a good communicator. I want to tell you how you do it. How do you achieve it? Focus on improving communication skills. That means how to understand the audience. If I today cannot convince you my message, whose fault it? It's not the audience fault. It is my fault. I have to accept it. So how to analyze? You are trained to analyze. I know as engineers. How? But how you relate that to the people and how you present it to your audience to understand it. You cannot just give a technical document with equations and then charts and everything if it is not, cannot be understood by the audience. So your analysis should have certain elements the layman can understand. Then how to listen? We are very poor in this because we try to push our message to them rather than actually listening. So that means we jump on without listening, and then how things should be done. And then think about writing. We are technocrat. We write things no one can understand. We don't know how to write concise and to the point in simple language. So just having no one can understand is not the way to go. Then how to present it? You need to understand presentation is a skill you have to practice, and also how to negotiate. Before negotiation, you need to understand, okay, what is your fallback position? Those things you have to actually, it's an art. So otherwise you can't win, and also you can't put across your message to that. Then interpersonal skills, conflict resolutions. So those are the things you need to actually think about. If the other party could not understand you, it is your fault, not the vice versa. So what the next one? Be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. What is that? How come engineers be a part of problem? I'll explain you. Engineers create complex technical systems that make modern life possible. Look around. Look around everywhere engineering. Anything you touch, engineers has done something before to make that happen. You have smartphones behind software engineers, so many engineers there. So you do certain things. Engineers create complex technical systems and make modern life possible. So it is an integral part of everybody's lives. When you have that kind of involvement everywhere, okay, can they distance themselves from the negative consequences of their creations? They can't, because engineering is everywhere. Then you are doing things, but there are problems in the society. Then part of the problems are created by you. That means you can't distance. That means you can't have the cake and eat the cake same time. So how do the engineers get out of this conundrum? This is the way. Be a problem-solving champion. That is your role number 3. That means how do you become problem-solving champion? We have to first, step 1 is identify the customers. You may think, I know who the customer is because the person who requested me to do this job, do this. That is where engineers got it wrong. There are 3 main customers you have. You have your supervisor or client or your employer. That's the immediate person requests you to perform or do something. Then the second customer is the society you live in. You can't stop there. The third one is the society to be arrived. What is that? That's the next generation. So one would ask, how can I do something if I don't know about the next generation? That is where engineers have to be very smart. The first thing they do is to make happy the supervisor and the present society, whatever you do. Then the second one is you should have the confidence. The next generation would also be happy. This is what is called sustainable solutions. Think about a dam. You build a dam will exist there 150 years, 200 years. So you will be dead, this present generation will be dead, or the next generation will will be the custodian of those things. If you have done something wrong there, that means the next generation will suffer. So you have a responsibility to think about them and do something not impacting them. So that's a difficult task, but you have to do. That's one of your roles. Then it is, if you don't do satisfy these three clients or these three customers, it constitutes as a professional negligence. Actually, in some countries, you can be prosecuted if you do something harm in the society or harm into the sustainability. So maybe in Sri Lanka, we are not yet there. However, as professionals, you have that professional responsibility. So how do you become a professional problem-solving champion? Step 2 is understand the problem. I don't want to go far. Once Albert Einstein, great Albert Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I will spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solutions. That is how important you to understanding the problem. Because when you understand the problem, then solutions become easier. So failure to understand what would happen, you will give correct solutions to the wrong problem. That's everywhere we could see. Ultimately, you gave solutions, but the problem was not the problem there. So how do you do that? That's what I'm actually discussing all over this presentation, my experience, how we do, I do in my organization, and also my experience I got in different organizations. First, identify all stakeholders. This doesn't mean only the customer. I purposely put stakeholders because the reason is the end product user or the other organization who take this material or material suppliers, contractors, you name, everyone involved in your project or product are stakeholders. So first, it is your responsibility to define the problem. However, you have to confirm it with the stakeholders and ask, is this the problem? I have been asked to find solutions. When you have that, then you try to understand what is the objective of. Then reconfirm that also with the stakeholders. That's how you understand the problem. But I have to caution you. Stakeholder consultation is not an alternative to find solution. I'll explain you what I'm saying. Sometimes people go and talk to stakeholders and ask, okay, what do you want? Then they will start telling, I want this, but I want you to do this, then I'll be happy. So some people collect this stakeholder consultation information and produce that again as saying, this is the way they want us to do this job. No, that's completely wrong. It is your responsibility to find the method, find the best way to do that. But stakeholder consultation is only information collection to trigger you to think out of the box, think innovatively. That's the only role stakeholder consulting. It's not a replacement of the solutions. So what is step 3? Understand the constraints. I have mentioned this before, these constraints. You have to operate within that constraint and you have to consider these constraints when you find the solution. Okay. Now, how do you become a problem-solving champion? You have to understand the issue domain. I don't know whether you have seen this before. Maybe some of you have already seen it. This is pronounced not as Sinafin, it's pronounced as Knaven. It's a Welsh word. Dave Snowden actually conceptualizes. He was in IBM Global during that time. It is a recent development. This is one of the best I have seen. Even in my organization, when we do risk management, we use this model. So you have a predictable world and unpredictable world. In the predictable world, you can predict what is going on. In the unpredictable world, you don't have a clue what is going on. Now, this is how it works. Just look at the obvious one. Obvious one, you can see when you have your issue, you know, yes, I know why it is happening. I know cause, I know the effect. I have done this before. I know what to do, and it is just doing it. So it's the obvious area. That means you can find a solution easy. Then the complicated area, you know the problem, but the solutions are debatable. Then the complex area, that means you don't know even the problem, but you don't know what would happen. And then we have to think differently, find a solution if your issue is in that quadrant. Then the chaotic one is a total chaos. Now look at the next one. Now you can see, if it is obvious one, it's a simple problem. You know the solution. So what you do, you implement best practice. It's easy. In the complicated one, you know the questions, you know the issues. Now you need some support from others. That means you can contact few experts. But remember, each expert will give you a different answer because it's a complicated issue. So they will give you answers. Then what it is, you as the engineer, you look at their answers. You then look at how these things will impact. And you have a role to play there. Then you select one of the options or combination of solutions given by the experts and then implement. You think it will work. It is called good practice. So then you have a complex situation. Questions you don't know, solutions you don't know. Then you have to experiment, then assess, and then find solutions. So then the chaotic one, you have total chaotic situation. You don't know what the cause, you don't know what is the effect. So you have to control the situation. That's called, we have to act first and then evaluate. I'll give an example of complicated one. If you want to send a rocket to the moon, it's a complicated one because we know what to achieve, but there are different methods. So we get together experts and then they analyze it, then they find ways and then decide, okay, this is the way we should launch this. The complex one, the best one I can give is parenting. Many of you may have kids. It's a complex situation. It's complex than sending a rocket to the moon because you don't know what the problem is you don't know the solution, but you experiment. You have a rebellious daughter, rebellious son, they are playing with game playing, or spend more time in TV, or without studying, or behaving bad. So you don't know what the problem they are, you don't know what the solutions as well. Then you experiment and they assess, and then again you give an experiment, then again they assess the situation. Your main expectation is push that issue to complicated at least. Then you can actually have some kind of a good solution, good practice. In the chaotic one, the best one is the current situation in the world, COVID-19. Think about in Sri Lanka. You had that situation. We didn't know, the whole world didn't know how this is transmitted, what kind of medicine would work, what kind of actions would be working for this. Is a chaotic situation, but you can't allow that there. That's why you have to act first. That's the very reason a country like Sri Lanka use like security forces join with the community service and the health services, and then try to control it. So that's a chaotic situation. According to this, is the best solution you can give at that moment. Later, what you could try to push up to complex situation and experiment a bit, and then try to go to complicated one. So that's the idea. So it's actually you can apply this to any situation in your office or professional life. So in summary, it's a best practice, in a good practice. Other one is an emergent practice. That means you come up with something and then it will be revolving again and again. It's an iterative process. In a chaotic one, we have never seen this, never faced this. This is the first time. It's a novel practice. So this is how this model is working. I think if you can go to internet and study this, and there are enough material, and maybe you can get a consultant to explain it further, and I think your life will be very, very easier if you use this effectively. So then the step 5, use the code of ethics as a defensive tool, not as a deterrent, not as a constraint. It is not a disciplinary tool. Many people understand it's a disciplinary code of ethics. They are controlling us. No, it is an inspirational guide. If you follow, it is the safety net for your innovation and creativity. I want to give you an example. In 1987, USA, they have launched Challenger spacecraft. This is a basic one. When I give you a copy of this presentation, you can read these details. This is how it is. There are 2 solid rocket boosters and the big fuel tank, and also then the orbiter on the space shuttle at the top, and their engine at the back. So they launch it within 0.678 seconds through the one of the O-rings in the boost a rocket booster start small flames start coming. No one could see it, only to the cameras it could see. In 58 seconds, then when visible smoke start coming. In 73 seconds, the struts attached to the fuel tank actually melted. Then 3 minutes 58 seconds, the Challenger fallen into Atlantic Ocean at a speed 200 miles per hour. That means over 300 kilometers per hour. All 7 crew died. Still, we don't know whether it's due to the impact or due to the explosion it happened. So, how it happened? Actually, the engineers were another company who were doing the rocket booster design. When they designed, they said, we can't allow to use these 2 rocket boosters because we haven't checked the O-rings of this rocket booster under lower temperature conditions. Then they refused to sign for the launch. They did not sign it. Then the NASA administration, who are under pressure from the White House or the government, USA government, because this is the flagship project to say to the world, USA is the leader in this space race. So they pressurize the NASA administration to act on. So then NASA did one unethical action. They asked engineers to prove this is unsafe to launch spacecraft. What they should have asked, is this safe to launch? Then they could have said, we have not tested these O-rings below these temperatures, so we can't say it is safe to. Then, but NASA asked the unethical question. So engineers did not sign. Then what NASA put a note saying that engineers couldn't prove it is unsafe to send this to the space. And they went ahead with launch. And within 3 minutes, 7 lives gone, 32 months delay in the space program. Then there was a presidential commission, and Alan McDonald is the chief engineer who refused to sign. So he said in that commission, I am proud of my second best decision taken. Then they asked what the first decision. They said to marry my wife. So then he was a hero, but it came as a cost, at a cost, because after he gave evidences to the presidential commission why he did not sign it, and he lost his position in the company. He was demoted to a smaller position, and the commission came to know about this. Then after that, he was reinstated as the leader of that project, and the senior management was removed from that company. They pressurized the company to remove the senior management. And when Alan retired from that organization, he was the vice president. So that's how. What are the lessons we learned? Engineers must use code of ethics as a tool for persistent professional behavior. So it will serve as the only legal defense to address unanticipated consequences due to uncompromised ethical behavior. That means when you do behave ethically, maybe some impacts come to you because others maybe remove your benefits. So maybe in the worst case, you will be removed from a position, but you can find a legal defense because you are representing a profession, because you have give a commitment when you become the professional to uphold this code of ethics. So that is your legal defense. In other countries, they clear. Also, if we don't do it, and also it's a professional negligence. So what I request from experienced professional engineers, you must lead by example and guide young engineers because they are young. They are scared of doing certain things, but you have to support them and equip with necessary skills and absorb this external pressure to behave in this manner, this professional manner. So you all are members of IESL. You know your code of ethics. Look at clause 1. It is regarding on health, safety, and welfare of public. What is wrong with that? It is a given. So then think about the clause 2. It is regarding honor, dignity, and integrity. Don't you all of us need that? Of course. Then think about the third one, the environmental sustainability. So you have to look after society, you have to look after the environment, you have to look after the next generation. That's a professional job. Then fair and merit-based competition. I don't think any of the professionals will go against this, because if you allow this to happen, it will impact you yourself as well. So you want to see fair and merit-based competition. Then you have to perform within area of expertise. There's nothing wrong in that, because whatever you do will be a sound job if you have the expertise. If you do something outside your expertise, that's a danger you do a bad job. And that will impact the whole engineering profession, because this is how the engineers behave. This is how engineers do. Look at the quality of this job, because that person didn't have the expertise. Then the next one, 6, professional decision making addressing stakeholder needs. It is there. So you have sworn for that. So you have to follow it. Then the truthful behavior. I think every citizen has the responsibility of doing that. Then what is the last one? On own professional development and develop followers. This is where I have some, if there is any criticism of senior engineers, that's what, because I worked now 32 years, I have seen senior engineers who don't do this. Not only they don't develop their expertise or the competence, they don't develop the followers. You need to understand, if you develop your followers, the credit will come to you, not the other way, because that shows your leadership, your commitment to the profession. So think about now your own profession performance. I suggest you to evaluate yourself. Write down 5 instances you have upheld these 8 clauses, or few of them, within last 30 days. If you can't write down a few, then you will see your performance gap. I'm not generalizing. I'm just saying that there are some engineers who are doing this very well. And in my professional life, only a few I could name. So what's your role number 4? Be an initiator and innovator. Because engineering is innovation. Engineering is, you should initiate and create and innovate. How do you approach? You should not go to your boss with problems and ask him or her to give you solutions or guidance. That's the wrong approach. You don't go to your boss saying, boss, I have this problem, what I should do? He will say, go back. She will say, go back and do your job and come back to me. Go to your boss with at least 3 innovative options and solutions, and ask him or her to select one. you should be able to defend all three solutions, justifying how present society or end users or end sufferers or whoever would be benefited. Also, you have to defend the sustainability of solution. That means you are thinking about the next generations as well and the environment and everything. Then also try to show the impacts of do nothing option. If we don't do it, what would happen? Then the boss will do the job, because the boss is there for a reason, because that person deals with a wider spectrum of the organization. He has or she has the holistic view how the solution would work. So what would happen? That person will select one of your options and incorporate other aspects and give the holistic solution. Then the boss will be happy, you will be also happy. So what do you need to be innovative? All engineers have the first one, the analytical skills, because we are trained in that area. Next one is the starvation. That means the hunger. You can't be innovative if you don't have the desire or your hunger to be innovative. Not only that, you need some kind of a pressure, maybe peer pressure, maybe from your organization, maybe from the industry, maybe from the society. There's a pressure engineer to do something innovative. That's what is happening at the moment at the COVID-19. The situation gives the pressure to people to come up with new ideas, new innovative solutions, innovative apparatus. That's why some of the students in universities, they find new, they invent certain things. So that's a pressure from the society and the situation. Then you need to think outside the box. That means you can't just do whatever you do and look at the problem the way you used to do. There should be a perspective shift. That means you go out of your comfort zone and think differently. That's how you do. What's the next role? Be in the shoes of the stakeholders. You can't just give a solution to a stakeholders and think that it will work. Think as a stakeholders. If I am one of them, would I accept this? Would I want this? So think about there. So normally stakeholders expect, they want to know what is going to be given, why it is given, and when it is given. So they need to understand it. Then the next one is, what would be the level of social and financial impact? You do something, there's a heavy social impact due to that. If you build a dam at the wrong place, the whole village will suffer. The downstream, they don't have enough water, they can't do their irrigation works and a lot of things. So then the precipitation patterns or stormwater runoff patterns, everything will be changed if you do a wrong location, if you build a dam. So financial impact. So you are spending money so much. Ultimately, it is ratepayers' money, it is the taxpayers' money. Even we borrow money from other countries, finally, people have to pay back. Their debt will go up, per capita debt. So we have to think about financial impact. Then would our well-being be looked after in an equitable and socially responsible manner? You can't give a solution only thinking of a section of the society or only a few people. You have to think about how this will be a solution equitable and socially responsible. So those are the things. So this goes to the next one. Be the champion of change. So before that, you all are working in organizations. Some may be having own businesses, some may be in private sector, some may be in public sector, but any organization, there are some elements of healthy organization. It has well-developed systems and subsystems, and also processes and procedures, then competent staff, risk management processes, key performance indicators, then a mechanism to bridge if there's a performance gap. So how do you do that? Start think differently. So engineers have to think differently, act proactively, and also try out new processes and procedures. So you have to make sure that they work service-centric and socially responsive. So you understand the system view. That means every organization has systems. You have divisions, but systems are across divisions. So you have to think. I don't have enough time to actually give too much details about this information. This is only touching at the surface, you to understand what is there. Then if you need further information, I'm more than happy to do a separate session for those ones. And this is just you to understand what is there, what should happen. So look at as systems, and then have this. When you get this presentation, you can get more details about this systems view. Then when you look at the systems view, there are system elements. That means in an organization, there are values, there are vision, there are mission, stakeholders, there are input, there are outputs. Then you have suppliers, so then customers, then internal staff, you have processes, then you have process measures, then you have assets. So many elements there. You have to think everything when you understand, analyze the system in your organization. So I'm not going to actually spend more time in this one. You can read these things later. And these are the way you have to actually consider the system with features. Then my next role is be an organization excellence promoter. So business excellence framework, there are hundreds of business development models. I can name easily 100. All are useful. Some say 3 C's, some say 5 S's, and then different methods you can mention. All are useful. However, there are 3 business excellence frameworks in the world, very famous ones. One is from USA, one is from Belgium, other one is from Australia. So my organization uses the Australian one. So here also, the time will not permit me to give more details, but from this copy of the presentation, you can start searching for this information. So is a just the bird eye view, the Baldrige one, and you can see the systems. It's a strategy, leadership, customers, operations, workforce, results. These are the things they will consider as systems, and then how they analyze. They have to analyze these individual systems and then come up with the method. So EFQM method is a similar, but also a bit different. So the third one, this is the Australian method. It has 3 types. It has drivers, it has enablers, it has results. So this is the one we use in our organization. We have tweaked a bit with some of the systems. We can do that when we apply it. The framework and method is 2 different things. Framework is like a house. The method is inside how you work in. So that means you have a framework, you have the flexibility to work inside that framework according to your organization. That's what they do. So there are principles. If we look at these principles, it is very logical and valid. If you think about the clear direction and mutually agreed plans enable organizational alignment and a focus on achieving goals. Yes, of course, because you have to have agreed plans and it should align with the organization and then organizational objectives, and that will focus on the achievement of goals. So then number 3, all people work in a system. Outcomes are improved when people work on the system and associate processes. Of course, because we have to work on the system to get proper outcomes. So then number 4, engaging people's enthusiasm, resourcefulness, and participation improved organizational performance. It's not rocket science. It is a principle you all should do. So role number 8, this is a very interesting one. I don't know whether I have enough time to do this, but I will try to give in a short a period of time. You are a crab in front of political sea. You know what crabs do. In front of sea waves, crab can't actually go against it. What they do, they move across, but forward. This is what you have to do. Your movement is sideways, but forward. So when you're dealing with political pressure, you have to understand certain things. Politicians are product of the society. Accept it. Also show your willingness to respond. Remember not to react, to respond, and tell them, yes, I am ready to work on this and I'm going to respond to you. That means respond means you plan and think before you act. React is you act and then think afterwards. So also, if you read the second one, politicians normally react, they don't respond because they are not as trained as you in a profession. They are reacting to public demand. So use this as your advantage because they are reacting. They react certain way today. Tomorrow they will react another way. So you take the advantage and you say, no, this is the way it should be done. Then also remember, politicians have own interests as well. Aware and also beware of this. Because don't take their own interests as the public demands. Then only way you can do this, what developed countries did. They develop processes and procedures very robust, logical, and fair, and transparent. That means everyone can see what the process and the procedure of doing certain things. Then they introduce e-commerce and digital records. That means the system has the all information. Human intervention is very minimal. Because of that, no one can actually bypass that system. Everybody has to follow that through that. Then the records are there. If anything change, anything happen, then there's a backup system. Always can prove that what happened there. So then what you have to do, educate politicians and the processes and procedures and tell them the system will record everything. Any violations will record there. So you follow the process and procedure to the letter. Don't violate yourself the procedure. Then any interventions and violations you record in the system. That means the system itself must be a feature. No one can delete. In our office, in my organization, no one can delete anything, any email or anything we registered in the information management system. If we delete something or alter something, there's a historical record. Who did it? At what time? What things they have changed? You will be caught. Then you should have an independent audit system inside the organization. That means the system itself generates the audit report. No need to anyone give you a go and find it. Then these reports should go to senior management, and also, if possible, a copy will generate and automatically send to the union representatives. That means everyone knows what is going on. Then they are scared of doing anything bad. So then I'm not going to too much go to this slide, because what they say is, if we allow politicians to make decisions on behalf of you, they will dump things not suitable for you. You have to live with that. It is your job to ask anything from politicians, legitimate things for the organization, your professional area, to do your job better. They can go and beg from another country or get anything. However, if you allow them to make the choice, then multinational business agents or someone will dump something, wrong products on your lap. Then you will suffer. So this is a summary what our engineering executive officers should do. They should develop organizations, use the systems view, and use business excellence practices or framework, and develop your organization and support your staff to do a better job. So as a final note, role of IESL. I request IESL to support engineers who are facing these brick walls. Support them. Ask them to collectively give the solutions to the national problems. And you, as the authority, take that to the government and work as the agent for the government who is collecting this information. And always keep the dialogue. I know that IESL is improving tremendously last few years, because I remember I wrote around 5 to 6 years ago to a secretary of IESL, why not we have a system in other countries, chapters, and at least pay our annual subscription fee, membership fees. Because whenever we try to pay it, I have to find someone from in Sri Lanka to pay it. And also, if I use electronically, then I am paying more international transaction fee than the membership value. So that kind. So few years back, Sydney, we had New South Wales, we had the first one. So that's how the things. So things are changing very rapidly. I'm happy with that. So this is a long presentation. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. And I think I have inspired you to think differently and also explore more in the areas I mentioned, because the time I had limited time to actually explain everything. I actually went over the limited time. Sorry about that. But I wanted to actually give this information to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Senuratna. Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. And now it's time for the question and answer session. That
Have
yeah.
you actually sent it via email or anything? Or
Not yet actually. I think the participants can raise their hands and ask the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we have to unmute the participants.
Okay, I have unmuted the participants. So
yeah, then you can ask questions now. Can you raise the hand? Then we can find the person.
I think Madam Ratnayaka.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I speak?
Yes, madam, please.
Yeah.
Just a very small comment. Actually, I sent a comment, but it has seems to have gone to the wrong person. Anyway, what I was, I mean, it's an excellent presentation, Janaka. I'm so happy I was here listening to you.
Thank you.
I was actually taken up by one little comment that you made. You had the slide as a caution. Remember, stakeholder consultation is not the alternative to the solution.
Yeah.
I think that's a great comment, because actually sometimes what happens is people give it as an excuse. We had a stakeholder consultation and this is what the people wanted, so we are doing it. But I mean, I'm of the opinion that that's not good enough. You have to ask the people, but then the specialists and the experts, the engineers, they should give the final decision, giving reasons why they either agree with the stakeholders or they don't agree. Am I
Yes.
am I on the same?
Yeah, of course, because that's what is happening, because the professionals has the expertise. They know how to find the solution. So what the stakeholder consultation is to get their feelings, get their interests, get their concerns. But ultimately, the professional's job is to find the solution themselves and defend it with the stakeholders. Your understanding was wrong. This is the correct the understanding of this situation. If I do this as you requested, this would be the impact. That's the role of the professionals. What they don't do it. Many of them just take granted and then take the stakeholder information and then reproduce this and saying that they asked this. That's why we did it.
Exactly, I totally agree with you. I don't know whether you know, my specialty is actually environmental engineering. So environmental impact assessment is something that we do. We actually have done a few.
Yeah, you are my teacher at uni.
So this is quite in line with my thinking. But
Yeah.
and the other thing I wanted to ask you now, you were saying that the communication skills of engineers is lacking. I don't know, actually, as a university academy, we are doing a lot now differently than what we used to do maybe 20-30 years ago. And have you come across the recent products of Sri Lankan universities? Do you see that it's the same, or do you think is there a difference now from them?
Because it's interesting that you asked that question, because at the moment I am employing a few members of my team. I got 2 applications from Sri Lanka.
Okay, good.
from University of actually 2 from University of Mortua graduates. Okay, so then when I see the what do you call the applications, so those ones still not to the same standard as the presented in other countries, but lot improved. I could see a lot improved. But one thing I have still the problem is in when the lecturers or the staff is employed in universities, the documents they give as the position descriptions and these things are still very rudimentary level. Okay, so
the references,
yeah, so because you have to give the position specification for people to apply, and so those are now actually this professional recruitment has gone to a different level in other countries. Even in my organization, we actually prepare the position descriptions as capability framework, and then we develop the interview guides with behavioral questions, and then after that we give them some kind of a scenario and ask them to give instantly how they are going to react that kind of a scenario in a workplace situation. Then after that they are going through psychometric testing. That means we check them how to understand a letter within a short period of time and then give answers, how the numbers are interpreted, and then whether he's a team player or just individual who has the narrow skills or narrow deep skills, and then without being a team player. Those things are into these things. So this part of the communication. Also, when I follow my leadership program in communication, they each and every time after finishing one module, I have to come back to the next class and show them the 3 things I have done in the office, how I applied 3 things I already learned in the organization, what changes I made. So those are the things in communication you need to actually teach them and also force them to practice it. And how you change your organization, how you change what you do in the organization.
We have a long way to go.
Yeah, long way to go. Yeah. But I mean, improving. But there are so many things. I mean, professionals there to help them. It is a matter of asking. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What am I hearing?
Yeah, is there any questions?
Malandu is done then.
Hello? Yeah. Are there any questions?
ඒටි සවුන්ඩ් එක ඔෆ් වෙලා අතිරේ
කොතරද
මේ
ඒක ඕන් කරන්න බෑනේ
මිනිමයිස් කරලා
අයියෝ බලන්න මොකද මේක කියලා
Devika, I think Suji.
I think
Suji, yeah.
Somebody
Sujiva.
yeah.
Oh, Sujiva. Sorry, I don't know.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry.
Right. Yes, I in fact I joined halfway through, and it was very good your points. You know, every year I work with fresher engineers, designs engineers, and in line with what Professor Ratnayaka said, she was mentioning communication.
Yeah.
There I would like to highlight the thing, the human interaction. More than communication, these young engineers, they can write well, do their work well, but the interaction with other people, other professionals, the you know, that there we see a big gap. They don't want to express verbally, you know. Do you and can you add on something to that? I mean,
Yeah, because this
Thank
is called interpersonal skills. So
interpersonal.
then, yeah, then in organizations, you have to actually develop that interpersonal skills, and because it is not an individual game, it is a teamwork. So, and also each and everyone will be nourished by the other's experience. So that's why in organizations, we are called, there are some the what you call the communities of practice. So that means the people informally get together, informally, not only the engineers together. So engineers and planners and others sometimes have a network and discussing things and get others' views. And also that improves actually how to actually look at from somebody else's views. So, and also then how you present something to another person, how do you listen? Actually, one of the major weaknesses of engineers is we don't listen. We just do our job. We just do it and show them this is the way it should be done. We don't listen. We don't have the patience to listen. So when you properly listen, we can understand others' views. Because most of the time, I also realize we have the habit of talking over. That means when somebody is talking, we talk over that. This is how the things should be done, and it is the communication skills mean as many things. So I learned my communication is for I mean maybe 12 months because I had a leadership program. So at the end of that leadership program, we had a group across the different areas within the organization. We had to develop a project. It's like a university project. That project is, the problem is given by the senior management. This is the problem in this organization. You come, you do the research, you come up with the solution. Then the organization will implement it the next year through their budget. So I had to involve with the social media. I was an engineer. I'm an engineer, so I had nothing to do with social media. But ultimately, our organization used a social platform to express our views to the ratepayers and the community, and then get community's input into that, then community complaints, then we use social media through that. Okay, we had videos, so we had to do research, how other organizations work. We had to study Kodak, how they did, and the other organizations, and then come up with solutions. So this is how actually, this is a practical way of learning. I don't know, Siju, whether I gave you the answer you wanted. Yeah, this is what I think, because it's on the job, and also it's a job. The people has to have the desire.
Yeah. Thank you, Engineer Janaka. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions, please?
So anyone can use the chat. I can see the chat. If there's any questions, I can have a look. Yeah.
I think it looks like there are no questions. I think you have explained everything very well.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we give another time, one moment for somebody else to
Yeah,
talk?
that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you please raise your hands if you have any question?
If anyone has any questions later, also I'm happy to answer. They can email me. So I mentioned in the presentation my email address, or you can provide them. Yeah.
I think you can share the presentation with us, then we can email it to
Yeah.
all the participants.
Yeah, of course, I will do.
Yeah, then I think looks like there are no more questions. Shall we conclude the presentation?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, indeed, actually it was a very informative session. I think now we can evaluate ourselves and see where we are lacking. And I think we can do more things if we follow these actions. And also I hope you will, Engineer Seneratne will continue presentations with IESL, and we would like to hear from you in future also. And I would like to thank you on behalf of the Women Engineers Forum of IESL for the excellent presentation and for sharing your experience and ideas with all of us. And you spent your valuable time with us. And thank you very much, Engineer Seneratne. And also on behalf of Women Engineers Forum, I would like to thank all the participants who joined with us today. Actually, it's an encouragement for all of us, for the Women Engineers Forum, and hope you all will join with our future activities. And also, I would like to thank IESL staff for hosting this event on behalf of Women Engineers Forum. Finally, thank you very much, Engineer Seneratne, for your excellent presentation. And we are looking forward to join with us in future activities also. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Abesurya, and also all the other participants. I think I have spent valuable time with you all, and I think it will be useful for your professional life. I know I have only touched the surface of some of the material because the time does not permit me to give in details those areas, but at any time, I'm more than happy to help any of you if you need further information on any of the things in my presentation. I will send you a copy to you, Mrs. Abesurya, for distribution to others. Thank you very much for your time.